Okay, hello. As you already know, my name is Paweł Piwosz, and I will talk today about monitoring, or continuous monitoring, or even about the road to the continuous monitoring. So more what you need to have here than here. Okay. So that's me. Hello. I'm working at EPAM Systems for 7 months, so not so long, but I've got 20 years of experience in IT, and I saw too many times how monitoring is configured, really. I am a leader of the DevOps community Poland, so please join us. This is my sentence, so I believe half of you hate me right now. And also I am a monitoring freak, I hope. That's my hobbies. In my free time, there is not too much free time in my life, but okay. Right, so a little bit information about agenda, short presentation, so short story about the current place of the monitoring, or where we start and where I hope we are going. Then what we need to do to change, a little more about automated and intelligent monitoring. The meal is my own approach to monitoring. Then I will show you a smart tool, very useful, especially for development, for developers and development environments. Okay, so the past. I'm old enough to see many things years ago. So basically, monitoring was based on the teams, right? So we have isolated teams, many people, many screens, and it was centralized monitoring. If you think about, for example, banks, it's still like this there, unfortunately. But there was a lot of human factor in this. What I mean by that? I mean that if any alert appear on one of this monitor, everyone just pick phone and call anywhere to push this problem outside. It's not my problem anymore. So that's why we were able to spend 20 hours of overtime per week doing things like this. So today we have a little bit different approach, but a little bit. We have partial automation. By partial automation, I mean that we have some kind of built possibilities to create monitoring, to create checks, but this is still what I'm calling passive. So we're creating checks to existing instance, for example, or during the creation of the instance, we're creating checks, right? It's definitely more decentralized and individualized, but what I mean by individualized, imagine you have 10 teams, each team is doing something in the one product, for example, I don't know, the web console, the payment console, etc., and each of this team has its own monitoring. That's good, okay, they know what they check, right? But you are losing full picture because you are checking only the part. And you don't know what's going on in the whole platform with whole request, let's say. I saw the situation when the company that didn't know for almost 2 weeks what happened. First, they have something what I'm calling problematic learning style. Let's say it is customer-driven monitoring. So someone is calling you, hey, your platform is not working. Oh, really? And that is because of this. We do not see the whole process. We don't understand what's going on in our infrastructure, in our platform. But we've got sweet charts, right? Grafana, for example, etc. So where I believe we should go, first of all, automation and repeatability. By automation, I mean not that you create a check during the creation of the instance. The monitoring should create a check when the instance is online. Okay? It's opposite side, I will say. So your monitoring must be smart enough to understand what is going on in your infrastructure and check it. For example, Dynatrace is doing something like this. And this is a little bit controversial. Everyone loves our business, right? Because they are paying us. We should be focused on business value, because monitoring without business value is not longer needed, really. And you will have the questions why you check this, why you want to build something to check what we don't really need to have, right? And your role is to explain to the business that you need to monitor, for example, CPU, right? But not always you need. That's the point. You not always need to monitor what we monitored for last, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years. We should have single point of control to understand what is going on with our platform, whole platform, from the beginning when the request is coming to our platform to the end. Let's think about internet shop. You should know everything about your customer from the beginning when he opened the browser to the delivery of the product to the customer. Not only to the click, send, or buy, or something like this, to the end, really. And continuous monitoring should be on top of the DevOps lifecycle, because we've got this beautiful loop, right? And we have the monitoring there. But yesterday we discussed this, right? Who was on the Ignite talks knows. And the base of the future monitoring is the smart monitoring, intelligent monitoring. And intelligent monitoring is built on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So what needs to be changed here, mainly? Hours and business and everywhere. First of all, the problems we have. We are scared. We are scared to automate monitoring. But by automate, I'm saying fully automate, like fully automated CI/CD pipeline to deliver product from the commit to the production, right? That's okay for us today. We are not that scared, but we are still scared of the monitoring. We shouldn't be, because it's the same purpose. Control. How many of you have the bosses who can be called control freaks? And they must know everything. And I mean it, everything. So automated monitoring, intelligent monitoring, doesn't need anyone to control it. So we need to get rid of it. What is not easy? What is not easy? Yeah, how many of you heard that? Okay, come on, everyone. I don't know if you see that, but what if this guy here say that? Okay? So we need to change this approach as well. And yes, this is true. The monitoring is expensive. Sometimes monitoring is the most expensive platform in the whole infrastructure, because everything is connected to this monitoring, right? So it takes a lot of data, a lot of data points, everything. So that is the problem, and that can be a problem. But our role also is to explain that if we pay now, we can forget about this. Okay? So now the example. Let's suppose we have a platform where, like here, you can see this is what you have in your monitoring, because your boss said, hey, come on, we do not have time and money. We need to monitor only errors. Did you hear that? Many times, right? Okay, so we are monitoring errors. And we know that our platform is built in this way that we allow our platform to have, for example, 10 or 20% of errors. Yes, I know, but that kind of platform is real, and I worked with that kind of platform. So what you can tell me about this chart? Perfect, exactly, nothing. This means completely nothing. Why? That's why. Because you do not have any context here. You don't understand what is going on there. You see some kind of line. This is only line, and something happened here. Nothing else, right? What about now? Remember that I say that we can allow 20% of 500s. Basically, it's okay, right? Now we are a little bit scared. Now panic mode is on, right? So that's the difference. Something happened here. Of course, we should have the line here and with information what happened here. For example, it can be deployment. For example, it can be a problem with auto-scaling. It can be, I don't know, anything, really. But we know something happened here in the context of this line, right? And it's easier for us to react. And we know that this is very important or less important, etc. So, automation. As I said, automation is a must-be for continuous monitoring. And by this, I mean that automation is a process. Process, the same kind of process like building your application, really. Because in this case, monitoring is also the application. And you need to remember about infrastructure as a code. Yes, monitoring should be done as an infrastructure as a code. Because it's easier to maintain, you better understand what's going on, it's easier to change, and of course easier to go back and move somewhere else. You should have the CI/CD, and your monitoring should be created using CI/CD, because this is the normal application, like every single other. You should have automated checks, and these checks should be created and removed automatically. But automatically not because you remove the instance or the auto-scaling remove the instance, but your monitoring should analyze the situation in your infrastructure and say, okay, this instance is gone, I can just switch it off. And you should be fully responsible to create this monitoring in this way that you are able to say that you are actively react to changes. This is what the Dynatrace is doing. It's a very expensive tool, but you can check it, how they doing it. Basically, where we are going with this? Here. And this is true. Your monitoring should be built by itself. That's the target of intelligent monitoring. Okay? And what is intelligent monitoring? In my idea of intelligent monitoring is built on artificial intelligence and machine learning. It sounds like buzzwords today, right? Like DevOps 5 years ago, etc., 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 or even still. But I strongly believe that that kind of logic, that kind of learning of your platform is the key here. And this is not easy, really not easy. The best example is that when I worked in my previous company, we built a very simple solution using machine learning. And we have inside the team, we have a PhD with machine learning. And it took more than half of a year to build a very simple solution. And monitoring is a complex solution. So this is definitely harder to do. You should be able to foreseeing events. So let's say we can call it active monitoring, right? Or pre-active monitoring. But yes, you need to understand what is going on right now with your infrastructure, connect it with the past, and understand what can happen next. Okay? You should be able to create reactions for this monitoring based on past events, because this is your history. You need this context, okay? You need this data to understand how you can prevent, how you can react, okay? And based on this, you are doing the automated decision making. And by decision making, I mean not like we have right now, because sometimes you can see this kind of monitoring. You have check, the check is failed, something is done. For example, restart of the service or something like this. But this is basically useless, right? Because restart of the service is not always, I believe in 90% of occurrences, is not the solution. It's just the remediation, not the solution. And we need to have solution. And this is something, the next half will hate me now. Because very often when we have problems and our monitoring is triggering alerts, we tend to say that, that's not the real problem. Well, we know what's going on, that's not the problem, we can fix it. Nothing happened. What is not true? We need to build the real situation, to build clear picture of the situation in order to fix it. And I'm going back to this thing about expensiveness of this solution. Yes, it is expensive. It is expensive because it is expensive, because it's time consuming to build, as I said, because it's resource consuming, because you need experts to this. Like I said before, we had a very, very powerful team, and we spent 6 months or even more for very simple task. But what you can do when you heard in your company that we cannot do this, we cannot go this way, just use Zabbix like for last 10 years. What you can do? Very simple thing. You can think about the future. What I mean by this? You can collect data today, now. You can collect metrics. You can collect alerts, events. But what is most important, you can collect actions. Because based on these actions, you will teach your smart monitoring what to do. Okay? So by collecting your data, you prepare yourself, maybe even your company, if you not go somewhere else, to be ready to this. What this means? Think about the future, okay? Because you need to see bigger picture. If you want to build a solution for seeing bigger picture, you need to see this bigger picture, okay? Okay. Meal. What is meal? It's my idea, some kind of idea for continuous monitoring. But first, what I need to say, it is what is continuous monitoring. Okay, how I understand this. So continuous monitoring has 4 pillars, really. And this will be very often repeated by me. Business value. Business value is the most important in every single thing we are doing, right? Because we are doing not for ourselves, but for the company. And the company needs to be alive and sell the product. So the business value is the most important thing here. Must be automated. Must be integrated with DevOps lifecycle. Not like we have right now, we have DevOps, monitoring somewhere, and we forgot about Sec at all, right? And logs, this is maybe a little bit controversial, because my idea is to forget about logs. Logs are only for creating metrics, nothing else. And this is the most important and most game changer here. So continuous monitoring fields of interest, what we are interested in using continuous monitoring? Operations, of course, right? Because we need to be sure that our platform is stable and working properly and as expected. Audit as well. Costs, yes, of course, because very often we heard it's not related with monitoring, but somehow it is. We will go to AWS, to GCP, to any other cloud, and it will be cheaper for us. So what we are doing, we are taking our monolith and send to Google Cloud. And then after first bill, we are a little bit scared. Something is wrong, right? The same situation is here. So you need to be aware of the costs using continuous monitoring. It is possible. And of course, risks. And that is obvious. Okay, so let me introduce my meal then. Meal is the abbreviation. Okay, it contains metrics, events, alerts, and logs. Simple. And it is a redefined approach to the idea how we're thinking about monitoring. Because for many of us, especially for those who has sysadmin backgrounds, logs are everything. Okay, like picture on Facebook. If you do not send picture on Facebook, this is not true. So for us, logs are everything. But we should just redefine our approach. And metrics first, because we are based on metrics, really. Each single monitoring should be based on metrics, because this is the fastest way to understand what's going on, the fastest way to build the common understanding, the fastest way to build reactions. So yes, logs are no more the center of monitoring, because we are building intelligent monitoring. So it's not for us. I'm not saying that we are not intelligent, but it's for the machine, and the numbers for machine are better, right? And based on logs, we are creating events. Not logs, sorry. Based on metrics, we are create events, right? And those events are based not only on the current state, on current metrics, but on the past metrics as well. We should have intelligent alert. Let's imagine the situation, for example, MediaMarkt. They got their own cash system. And this cash system is broken at 2 a.m. And they start at 9 a.m. So it is important to fix this, right? But we still have a couple of hours to do it. What will happen if this system will go down at 7 p.m.? This will be a little bit more scary, right? Because we have only 2 hours right now. At 8 p.m., there will be a little panic. And what will happen if this system will go down at 10 p.m.? 10 a.m., I'm sorry. Okay? So this is the difference. And based on it, of our needs, of the system needs, we should create intelligent alerts. First, business first, right? So monitoring, the intelligent monitoring is for business, not for IT. And let's say how it should be built. So metrics are the foundation. We are building everything based on metrics. Based on metrics, we are creating events. Based on those events, we are creating alerts. And then we have logs. Because on the end, very often we will need to be able to fix what's happened, and we need to understand what's happened. So that's why logs. And this is only the one phase of this coin. The second phase is the loop for meal. So we have metrics, we have events, alerts, logs, which are changed to metrics. So basically, I invented another DevOps loop. And everything in the center is the business value. Okay? That's obviously some kind of buzz sentence, let's say, but this is true. So let's go deeper how we should create triggers and how we should trigger decisions for our monitoring. In middle we have what? Yes, business value. Then we have something what I'm calling business importance. You can ask why 2 things. Okay? Business value is the cash system in MediaMarkt. Business importance is the time of the issue. So at 2 a.m., the importance is still high, but not that high like on 10 a.m. Okay? Then we have remediation process. By remediation process, I mean the effort, the time, the cost we need to spend to fix this, and also how it impacts our customers. And repeatability on the end. I strongly believe if we have alerts night by night, week by week, we are creating tickets for it, we are trying to fix it, and nothing is happening. What we can do with this alert? Just switch it off, because nobody cares. So why should we? It's brutal, but believe me, it works. It will be fixed next week. So a little bit technical information, how to approach to me, how I think we should go to create this intelligent kind of monitoring. So based on Dockers, we've got some containers. This is the classic situation. We've got our daemons on every single node of the cluster with the where the logs are shipped through these containers to some place, right? And right now, we are, for our kind of monitoring for the present, we are staying on this place because this is our display and that's it, right? So I'm going a little bit further. I want to have two databases for monitoring. One for metrics, one for logs. Because, for example, Elasticsearch is perfect for logs, but not necessarily for metrics, and INFLUXDB is perfect for metrics, but not necessarily for logs. But everyone claims that it's for everything. So we have one logic here. One logic which is analyzing the available metrics there and send those metrics here as well. Then based on those metrics and those metrics, some kind of magic is happening here. And we've got logs as well. So we have another logic where we recreate logs to the metrics, right? And you are using those logic, those metrics there as well. But that is not complete, really, because we have another logic where we collect data from our other logics with metrics, with logs, and based on this, this is the real brain, the third brain of our monster. And this logic takes decisions and make actions. And of course, we need to have dashboard. That's obvious. Even if not we, that our business want to have dashboard. Okay, a little bit technical stuff, let's say. How many of you work with INFLUXDB? With Telegraph? Okay. With capacitor? Perfect. And with chronograph? Come on, I'm looking on you, but okay, perfect. So yes, those four elements are parts of the INFLUXDB stack. Okay, this is I can say huge stack for let's say monitoring things, and they have a sandbox for it, but I find this sandbox useless because it's saying what you can have in free version. What is nice to having at home and nothing more. I've created a little bit more complicated one. And let's talk a little bit about elements. I just named all of those elements, but the tick is obviously the abbreviation, another abbreviation. We love abbreviations. Telegraph for the shipping, INFLUXDB database, chronograph, the C, and capacitor. Chronograph is their own Grafana, let's say, and capacitor is the logic for alerting, and not only for this, but we are using it mainly for alerting. You can have it as a self-hosted. You can have it as Influx Cloud, but you have to pay. And you can have Influx Enterprise, which is the most expensive option. And you can basically do the same thing in the free one, really. The difference between enterprise and self-hosted is that in enterprise you have clustered database. What is important for production, right? In self-hosted, you just have one node, nothing more. But we have some kind of solution for it. Okay, but main attributes of this stack and database, that it is time series database. So what is better for monitoring, for metrics than time series database? It is complex solution, yes. Like stack from Elasticsearch is complex, that this is complex as well. It's very easy to have initial setup. You can believe me, in 10 minutes you can have working solution for monitoring from scratch. It is like a living project. 2 months ago, they add to the Telegraph something what they call Docker logs, and I got a long discussion with the developers why the Docker logs, when you taken the logs in JSON or some JSON niche kind of style, they are putting this log to the database as a string. That is stupid. It's written in Golang, that's why it's really fast. And this is the data structure for the database. Basically, INFLUXDB is like some kind of SQL-ish. They've got their own language for it. And this is insert. Basically, it's obvious. Measurement is you can think about this like about the table name. And then you put your values. And you probably notice there is a comma, but there is not there is none. Because we differentiate what we are sending to database for tags and fields. What is the difference between tags and fields? Very simple. Tags are indexed and fields are not. That's why if you think about create anything in InfluxDB and you want to index something, put it as a tag. Okay. They released InfluxDB 2.0 long time ago, but it's still in alpha version. And it's a really big change for the approach to the Influx. Basically, the first most important thing that they removed TCK from ticked. So right now you have only one binary. I'm not so sure if this is a good solution, okay? Because you have everything in one. They have some kind of machine learning there. They changed something. Oh, works. Okay. Their own language, it was called InfluxQL. So, as I said, some kind of SQL-ish. They changed to Flux. It's more powerful. The difference is like between Bash and PowerShell, I believe. And it's optimized for productivity. At least they claim that. And it has native support for Prometheus. So many of you will like this from the beginning because of this. And as I said, it's still in alpha version. So I will show you a little schema from this sandbox. Basically, we have one database. But if you think about using it more professionally, it's not that perfect, right, to have database. So what we need to have second database. Basically, this is all the containers built in Docker Compose in the links I showed you before. For this kind of solution, we need to be able to write data to both of those databases. The free version doesn't allow to do this. But there is, as always, the workaround. It's called relay. Again, it's written in Golang. And basically, it's relay. Everything what is going into the relay is written to all databases behind it. But again, the same situation like with databases. One relay, so you have two. Perfect. We have Telegraph as a shipper, chronograph, and capacitor. That's obvious, that's whole stack. And what I added to this stack? I added AJ proxy here to be able to serve for both relays, right? And this is how the data is written in INFLUXDB. And this is how it's read. Okay, this is more for, let's say, logical way to show this arrow, because chronograph is asking INFLUXDB. But everything is going into AJ proxy, and there is splitted based on the path. And we have something like this here. So basically, when you run the stack and configure your chronograph and telegraph, you are able to run some tests using AB. That's all for this stack. Okay, if you have any question, I hope I can answer. Which one?
How could you apply your solution, your idea of yield with other monitoring systems?
In the same way, basically. What I need to have metrics. And the question is how I build the logic behind this. Honestly speaking, I'm not so sure right now how to make this very functional. So I'm like more like someone who is working with theory than in practice in the whole spectrum of this. But I know this kind of solution is working, and I heard a couple of times that people who started to be focused on metrics more than on logs increased the possibility to find problems before they really appeared about 20–30%. So only by this. So that's really cool. But yes, basically you need to go to and have metrics. Metrics as a base of everything, and based on this you can build everything. In every single system, really. One more question? Good. So for the finish, what is the difference between automated monitoring, I mentioned before, and continuous monitoring? In automated monitoring, we are focused on the elements only from this beautiful loop. As you can see, I love this loop because I have it everywhere. What is the difference from continuous monitoring? Very simple. You need to look on the whole spectrum. You have to have in focus everything. So everything should be in your focus. So three or four things I'd like you to remember from this. That business value first. Okay? Keep it simple. So we tend to build very complicated solutions because they are beautiful, cool, and we think so proud from them. But shorten your chain, because if something can be broken, will be broken. The goal of the monitoring is intelligent monitoring. So you can go to sleep, and this thing is going will do all the job. Okay? And the last thing is the quote from DevOps Borat. I think you know him. It's that again. Yep. The red one? All right. Ugh. Work. Okay. So this is the quote from the DevOps Borat. I'm not sure if you see who is monitoring your monitoring server. Okay, thank you very much. I'm waiting for your feedback.